Hi, this is James Harper, pastor of First Presbyterian Church, and I appreciate you joining me for this video. In this video, we are going to talk about the mission of our church. I think all churches have a lot in common in what we do, but there's also unique ways that we go about doing that. And this will help you understand our unique way of being people who are building the kingdom of heaven here in this part of the county and the surrounding West Georgia area. We talk about our mission with this phrase, for God, for neighbor, for you. We'll use that kind of language because I think you probably recognize that unbelievers, people outside the church, and I think thus those of us inside the church to some extent as well, hear more about what Christians are against than what they're for. Now, I know that's because the press amplifies the loudest and worst voices among us, but that is a reality we face. So we wanted to flip the script on that to make sure our community knew what we were for. And so that's why we use that language, because we're for three things, really. We're for God, for loving God, for our neighbor, for loving our neighbor, and for loving the people, for you, the people that are far from God. That pair, love God, love your neighbor, comes from a Bible passage when a group of people are gathered around Jesus, and one of them asked Jesus, what is the most important of the commandments? And Jesus answered with two. He said, you are to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and you are to love your neighbor as yourself. And that's how we came up with those first two parts of that mission. And so that's a big part of what we do here. We are for God, meaning we love God, and there's ways that we do that. One is worship, and the other is a practice of spiritual disciplines. If you spend some time with us, you'll know that we have two different types of worship services, a contemporary service and a traditional service. We recognize that there are people who come from a variety of backgrounds, and some prefer the traditional forms with the choir and the robes and the hymn books and the organ, and some prefer the contemporary with the band, the guitars, drums, and so forth. We do both, and that's the biggest way that we practice love of God, is a worship that is focused on God, not on us. And I think that in our worship we honor God. We also help people here love God with the practice of spiritual disciplines. A big one is reading and studying the Bible. We have numerous opportunities for people to do that. On Sunday mornings, we have our Vine classes at 9:30. And then during the week, we have men's Bible studies, women's Bible studies, community Bible studies. We have also prayer gatherings and prayer emphases throughout the church. We have a prayer network for people who want to pray for the needs of the church, and we have ways that you can participate in praying for the church. We encourage other spiritual disciplines like generosity and serving others. And those things that we do out of a desire to love God are what are part of our kind of DNA of this church. It's a high value that we have. And that second part of that mission statement, for neighbor, it's about loving your neighbor. And the way we help people do that, the way we focus on that, is through that category of serving in the community, the nation, and the world. I think our church has got a pretty stellar history of loving the people in this community. We have established ministries. We still have people volunteering in ministries across the county, and we have people that are personally serving in unique ways as well. Spend some time with us, you'll see that it's a really strong part of our DNA is that we want to love the people around us. We think we are serving others because God has served us in the person of Jesus Christ. And if you want to make a difference in the community, if you want to grow in your love of God and your knowledge of God and your experience of God, and want to make a difference in the community, to do like God tells the people through Jeremiah, to seek the welfare of the place to which you've been called, and to pray for it, for in its welfare is your welfare, and its flourishing is your flourishing, then I think you're going to find this is a great place to do that. Then the third part of that mission is the for you, and that is tied to a Bible passage that we call the Great Commission. When Jesus died and was raised from the dead, There's an encounter with Jesus at the very end of the Gospel of Matthew, and Jesus meets with his disciples, and he says these words. And Jesus came and said to them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." That is called the Great Commission by some. But essentially, it's the final words Jesus has as he is leaving the disciples. And that is why we tie that "for you" into our mission statement, because a big part of who we are as Christians, all of us, our big part of our identity is to go and make disciples of others, and we take that serious as well. We want the people of this church to express love for those who are far from God by reaching out to them and practicing something that we call the bless method. The bless method helps people build bridges between God and unbelievers, and the means he uses for that is us. And that's why we follow this idea called the bless method. It's not unique to us, but it's an acronym, the bless acronym. And it means this: to begin in prayer, listen, experience, serve, and share. That is what we teach our people, and we want all of our people to be involved in this as the formula for how to reach people that are far from God, because most Christians spend most of their time naturally with other Christians. They build relationships with other Christians, and the longer they are Christian, the less non-Christians they know. So it takes intentionality. It takes a love for people far from God to step out and to begin that relationship so that God can use that believer as a bridge for that unbeliever to come to know God. And that blessed method is a great way to think about how to do that. One is pray for the person that you know that's far from God, or pray that God would put somebody far from God in your life. The second is listen. Any kind of good relationship has an important listening component to it. I'm sure in your relationships, when people don't listen to you, you don't get a sense they care about you. And so an important part of building a relationship with somebody is just listen to them, get to know them, hear their story, let them share what's going on in their life. That E stands for experiences, and that means just do things with people. Have them over to your house. Go out to eat with them. You know, it's remarkable how when you get people around a table, get their feet under your table, and you eat together, that there's a freedom to share and to talk that doesn't occur anywhere else. And so an important part of that building relationships with anybody is experiences. And then S is serve. It's a great way to develop relationships with other people, is to do things to help them. If your neighbor is struggling to get their trash cans out, help them. If your neighbor's car breaks down, help them. If somebody in your place of work is struggling with an assignment and you know what to do, help them. Serve the person. And then lastly, share. You know, when a relationship evolves to a place where their conversations begin to emerge about faith, and it's really not so much always tell me about the Christian faith, but it can come up in ways like your friend has a financial problem or a marriage problem. And you can say to them, you know what? I've been in that place of having that financial problem or having that marriage problem, and this is what I learned. This is what my faith has taught me. This is what God has taught me. And share how your faith has impacted your life. And then if it seems appropriate, say to that person, hey, can I pray for you? Can I pray for your relationship? Can I pray for your finances? And that blessed method is a really great way to build a relationship with anybody, but particularly if you're trying to build a relationship with people that are far from God. And that's what we encourage our folks to do, and that's what we want to encourage you to do. It's not about making people a project. I'm talking about genuine relationships. It is taking those steps to move beyond your normal zones where you just deal with Christians and talk to Christians or people like you, and to step out of that zone. Maybe you need to find a new way to engage in the community around you, to meet people that are far from God, and to love them enough that you would take the time to build a relationship so that out of that relationship, God may reach that person. That's what we mean when we say for you. The church is for those who are wanting to know who Jesus is and to experience him, and we hope the people of this church have that same love for people that are far from God. So that's who we are. We are for God, for neighbor, and for you. If you have any comments or questions about us, you can reach me at the email here, james@fpcdouglasville.org, and you can find our website at that same domain, fpcdouglasville.org. And I hope this has been helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you in person.